A very good evening to everyone present here. I am Jindal, CEO at Law Internships, the online law school. Before starting the webinar, I would like to give a brief introduction about Law Internships, the online law school. So Law Internships is an online law school which shall extensively provide educational services. We provide opportunities in the field of law to the students pursuing undergraduate or postgraduate programs such as internships, certificate courses, training programs, publication services, law school kit, and we do organize events at national level for gaining professional experience as well as while improving your legal skills being enrolled in a full-time law program. So the objective behind this online law school is to provide a credible platform for the law students to fulfill educational requirements by imparting practical exposure and relevant skills. The uniqueness of this school is to unleash a law school whereby students get an opportunity to hone their skills outside a classroom and provide wide-ranging services to them for their holistic development. So in the last 2 years, 1.5 lakh members have joined law internships, including law students, law firms, law universities from pan-India. Today, we have amongst us Ms. Nimmy Zachariah ma'am. She is working as an assistant lecturer at Jindal Global Law School, Sonipat. So after graduating from the University of Kerala, she gained some exposure to the practical aspect of law by working as a junior counsel at the lower courts and at a firm in Delhi. After which she cleared IELTS in 2019 and pursued LLM from National Law University, Delhi, specializing in business law. So she has published her research work since Cooper's Journal and cleared UGC NET law in 2021. Recently, she was also selected as a delegate for Harvard Conference on Asia and International Affairs as a delegate. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ruthi, for that warm welcome.
So today she will deliver a lecture on how to prepare for UGC NET law and exam. She will also tell you what should be your strategy for the same. So if anybody will have any questions or queries, you can raise your hand or you can write on the chat box and we shall recognize you and unmute you. And also in the end, the floor shall be open for any questions. So without delaying any further, let's begin the session for today. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Ruthi. Thank you. So let me share my video first. I hope the video is visible to everyone.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you once again, Ruthi, for the warm welcome. So, when Ruthi approached me to give a lecture on preparation of UGC NET, so what made me do this or take up this as an opportunity is when I was preparing for UGC NET, I'm not a very bright student, not like an extraordinary student, but I was actually misguided by a lot of my seniors that you just not need to prepare anything extra for UGC NET. You can directly go and get the examination. So I had that misconception in my mind. So I just did a very brief preparation. I went for my first attempt, which I couldn't clear. I lost it for 2% in the first attempt. Then I realized that I myself should make a strategy to clear this examination rather than believing other people and thinking that I can easily clear it without any preparation. So that is why I wanted to guide with my experience and my knowledge some of the youngsters for preparing for UGC NET. First question that comes to everybody's mind is like, why do you want to clear UGC NET? The basic answer is if you want to become an academician or if you want to prepare, if you want to prepare yourself to reach in a position of a dean of a school, law school or dean of any university, then you should, the first and the most basic criteria now the government has come up with is UGC NET. There are rumors that they may take it out, but that is still be a rumor. We are not sure whether they will remove it and make PhD as the mandatory criteria to become the assistant professors in colleges and universities. So a lot of questions, suppose if you're preparing for UGC NET, you consider while preparing yourself to be an academician. So first aspect is that you need to publish in good journals. So good journals mean either it should be a Scopus journal or ABDC journal or a UGC CAR list. Most of the Scopus journals do come under the UGC CAR list. So if you can find out a journal in the Scopus list, and Scopus list is available on the Scopus website. So there is a website for Scopus, which is called www.scopus.com. You can go there and download the list of journals which is available and select a journal and send your papers, research papers there. So it actually adds the value on your name as well as a research scholar. So when you sit for the interview, actually publication of scholars adds a lot of marks to the in the interview. And definitely you can work with any research project as per your choice. There are private ones as well as government. It's totally up to you. You can select any topic, and then you can find out different various government institutions or any private institutions if that's always working on that area of interest. And the last one is UGC NET. Well, in this lecture, I'll give a detailed explanation as to how to prepare. Okay, am I not audible to you all? I just got a message. Okay. So there's a message from Disha that it's not clear. That's why okay. So yeah. So UGC NET, let's first discuss what is the pattern of the examination before we move on to the different contents of the exam. So pattern, there are basically two papers. One is paper 1, which is a general paper, which is common to all the specialization exam, whether you're taking law subject, whether you're taking commerce, or be it any subject, the general paper remains the same, but the pattern remains the same, but the question varies according to the slot. And the paper 2 is basically subject specialization. Whichever subject you are specialized in, you can take whatever you have done in your master's. So be it law or commerce, public administration, English, whatever it is. So let's understand the marking system, because a lot of people ask me how the percentile system works in the next examination. So in the paper 1, you can expect 50 questions, which is broadly divided into various subjects like teaching aptitude, research aptitude, which we will discuss in detail in the upcoming videos. So each of these questions carries 2 marks each, and the total mark will be 100 marks. So 50 questions, 2 marks each, which ends up as 100 marks. And in the case of paper 2, which is your area of interest and the area of specialization. For example, I assume that everyone is law students. Even though if it's not, it's fine. If the law and the topic, the specialization questions will be around 100 questions, out of which each of them will be carrying a 2 mark, and which ends up as a total of 200. So the total of net examination is 300 in total, and your total, that is, for example, if a candidate scores or makes 30 questions correct in paper 1, his total score will be 60. And in the case of second paper, if the candidate makes 60 questions correct, then the total will be 1602, which is 20. So the total score of the candidate will be 160 plus 120 is equal to 180 marks divided by 3. That will be your percentile. And this percentile, in this example that I have shown you in the PPT, the percentile of the person will be 60. That is the exact cutoff. Government UGC will come up with cutoff for different categories. And as for the categories, your percentile falls under the specified marks listed by the UGC, then you will clear this examination. Any doubts, you can ask me at the end of this lecture. So let's get into the detailed analysis of how to prepare for UGC NET. So first we will discuss on paper 1. So paper 1, what you can get a number of books, textbooks and everything in the market, but what I relied on was, first is there's a book authored by K.S. Martin Sir on paper 1. It actually covers most of the topics which comes under the syllabus of paper 1. Along with that, after every chapter, he has mentioned questions for practice, which will actually help you to practice more questions before giving the UGC NET examination. So the second one, you should, it's mandatory that this is the purchase of this book is mandatory is that you need to get a question back, at least 10 years back question. It should at least have past 10 years question paper like that. So you need to get a question bank like that, which probably which starts from 2011 or 2012. So until and unless you practice questions of the previous years, you won't be able to understand what is the pattern, what is the type of questions. Because usually what usually happens is that they jump into questions. Like you can actually get repetitive questions, but in a different concept. You just need to understand the previous year's question papers, and this is mandatory. This is the first thing that you need to purchase. And then I myself didn't want to take a chance of missing one more chance. So what I did was, that was during the COVID pandemic time. So So I registered for Grade Up Plus for UGC NET paper 1. So, and it was pretty useful for me, but now Grade Up has been acquired by so I don't know what is the rate now, but at that point of time during the COVID pandemic, Grade Up, it was very feasible and pocket friendly, to be honest. And and we need to discuss, we need to work out question paper. That is the basic thing that you need to do. So let's get into detail. So the first topic that I've chosen to discuss under paper 1 is teaching aptitude. So under teaching aptitude, there are different topics which is favorite of UGC NET examination. One is characteristics of learner and teacher, what are the different kinds of learning, and what are the barriers, and what are the evaluation systems. I remember seeing a lot of questions in semester. What is benefits of semester system, etc. These kinds of questions, usually they ask for these kinds of questions. What are teaching aids, methods of teaching aids? So you will understand when you start doing the questions, previously question papers. So in my case, teaching aptitude, what I did was I listened to the classes of Grade Up at that time, and then I prepared notes for myself, and then I used to revise it. That is what I used to do at that point of time. And then you can also go through the questions in KP's Martin's book, and there are a lot of materials and a lot of information also given with that. So you can rely on that, to be honest. Kevin's Martin book is a really reliable. And then in the case of research aptitude, so what happened with research aptitude is there are different types of research methodologies, like for example, experimental research, ex-post facto research, historical descriptive. So you should be very clear about the characteristics of each one, because UGC has a habit of playing with words and confusing the panel by jumbling the characteristics of the different research methodologies. So you should actually be very clear on the characteristics aspect of each research method, like quantitative, qualitative. What is the difference? All these things that should be very clear to you. And the other aspect is sampling is also important, because they sometimes ask which sampling is best in so and so example, or they give you a case and then okay, which is the best sampling method that can be used here. So you just need to be very clear in that, because research methodology, teaching aptitude, and communication activities, which are 3 topics which can easily score in the marks. And also, obviously, my preparation was I didn't have a book to study alone for research aptitude, so I relied on the classes by Grade Up, and then I made notes and I kept on revising so that I memorized the characteristics of each and every research method. And then I worked out the questions from Kevin's Martin's book from the chapter research aptitude, and then I also worked on the questions. So that is the aspect, that is the strategy that I use for research aptitude. And next one is communication. Communication includes simple but it's a very vast topic. You need to be, you can expect any kind of questions from it. Sometimes they ask what are the barriers of communication, is very simple, but you need to know what are the different barriers and what are the pros and cons of each and how to rectify that, and what are the different modes of communication. what is grapevine. All these things you can understand if you register for any class on UGC NET paper 1. In my case, I registered for the Spade as I so I listened to their classes and inputs, and I kept on revising. And then certain topics I also relied on Cambridge book, which was pretty useful. And I kept on doing questions because practicing question was the only one only method which will make you remember what you have studied and read. So yes, that is my strategy for communication as a topic. And then comes higher education. Higher education, you can expect everything. Unlike teaching aptitude, research methodology, or communication, higher education is coming with dynamic topic, which means that you can expect current questions on current events. Like if the government comes up with a new scheme for example, there are questions on anything to so in that case, what I did was before I paper examination, I purchased one government schemes ka separate book is available for different IAS institutes. You can get any one of them and you can just skim through it like anything which is related to education. There is high probability that they can ask you very recent schemes or projects established by the government on higher education system. And also in this topic, you should be clear of the history of the education sector in India. What are the different reforms? Who were behind the reforms? All these things are very important. And also you have to understand what are the different platforms of education that is provided by the government. For example, you get a lot of courses in these platforms, which is actually funded by the government. So you just need to be clear on that aspect. So as I said, again, I for the schemes you can rely on any of the IAS institute material, and I wrote that question, and then I looked at the same question. But higher education is a very random topic. You may not get repetitive questions. It is very highly unlikely that you might get repetitive questions because it keeps on changing. Because they change the pattern of higher education. So that is my strategy on higher education. And maths and data interpretation, where I have a law background. So after my 12th, almost for 5 years, I haven't even done anything on in maths, like any calculation on nothing, or for example, like calculation on speed and mode. All this, there are certain topics that we usually get an examination. So all this it was new to me after 5 years of my law graduation. So what I did that I knew what the level of my maths knowledge was. So what I did was I registered for a maths class before sitting for the exam. So I registered at a site called CSAT Mantra, where the was on basic concepts of average, percentage, and the questions also related. So I used to work out that. And to be honest, if you're very strong in maths and data interpretation, it is actually good scoring material, to be honest, because you can easily score in data interpretation. You can actually in one question we get 4 to 5 questions under that question. So if you have a hand over this data interpretation, then it is easy to score marks. For that, you can get in CAT examination and work out 10-15 questions so that you'll get a hang of that. And you're not going to get very tough questions on data interpretation because it's very simple. So if you practice questions from CAT examination books, you can actually master it. So just try to solve out like 10-15 questions on data interpretation, understand what methodology they have used, and try to work and try to apply that for your examination. That is more than enough in the case of data interpretation. So yeah, as I've already mentioned, my strategy was I joined with a course called CSAT online platform, and then I used to work out questions, like not a lot, but yeah, I had basic understanding of maths questions and how to do that. So next portion is information technology, which is this is basically very simple. If you have, I think most of us know basics of information technology. What is computer? What is wireless? What is CPU, etc. But another important point that you need to learn here is conversion of binary to decimal. Sometimes UGC can ask that question, and I've seen in the past missing question. So there is a method for doing that, which you can check it online or in any of the books that is available. And it will be easy if you study communication and information technology, these two chapters together. So yeah, so in this case also I just went through the notes that was provided by Greta, and then I have worked out questions and these topics. So because they can sometimes ask tricky questions and from this area. So yeah, this is on information technology. So this is people development and environment. So again, this is a very dynamic topic. You can expect current questions from current affairs, current schemes and in the environmental sector, and history of reforms or convention. Especially they usually ask conventions on environment, bond convention, etc. They can ask you like which was signed when, what is Paris Agreement, all these questions they can ask you. So yes, so in that I relied on Gillies Martin's environment chapter because it has all the basics. And then again, you can purchase some, recent data on environment. For example, I can use Visionaries do have there's a magazine of Visionaries from 365 that you get an entire idea of what happened in the environmental sector for the past one. I think for this example is more. So yeah, that's the thing of people development and environment. And so I hope paper one is clear. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. You can ask me at the end of the session. So let me get to the law section. So before preparing for law, for UGC NET, first of all, you should go through the syllabus. You don't need to study like a judicial aspirant. They are very specifically mentioned under each category what are the broad subcategories of areas that you can expect questions. So if you take the example of the UPI code, you don't need to study the entire paragraph. They have actually mentioned what are the topics that you need to study. That is more than enough. So get a copy of the syllabus. And I would suggest you to go through the bare article because that is the basic book. For example, in the case of Constitution, Indian Penal Code, contract, like sale of goods, partnership, just go through the parents because sometimes the UGC NET can ask you like what is the chapter, what is chapter 2 under Partnership Act, or they can ask you chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and they'll mention like what headings of chapters, and you'll be asked to match the following. So in that aspect, you should at least have gone through the bare article. You should at least know what are the different chapters, what are the chapters, what is a chapter title, and what sections become. So I'll discuss each topic in detail. So another important culture that you should or you can do is there is a book, question bank of premium LLM entrance. So where you get the previous years of questions which was asked in the new LLM entrance. What I've observed, I have gone through that question bank. I've observed that there is similar questions or something which is easily connectable. Such kind of questions you can see in UGC NET, and which is sometimes you can get very repetitive questions from the LLM in UGC. So I would suggest you to purchase this book and go through the questions because it is a very easy purchase, or you can rely on showing to LLM. That is also there. So you can work on questions from that. And or any judiciary material is also something, but judiciary may be a little advanced. I don't think you should be that advanced, but if you have any copy of it, just try to work out questions from IPC and try to. So UGC NET, they usually don't ask too much application questions, but like judiciary examination, but you can expect questions from illustrations directly from the data. And definitely the key to practice exam is to go to the previous examination. Not examination, question papers. So yes, so if you can purchase DU LLM entrance question, PVC question and expert test, or you can work out any LLM entrance question banks if possible. So let's get to the topic. The first one is jurisprudence. For me, jurisprudence is a boring subject because I don't like reading a lot that it changes from person to person, obviously. But for me, it was difficult to learn and by heart the names. So what I did, so one of my seniors suggested to read Byron Jeffries' book on jurisprudence. So I bought that book and started reading, but it was so huge that I couldn't convince myself to read that. So what I did was, there is a booklet of Rahul Ayers on jurisprudence. So it's just 30 to 40 pages. So I have gone through that completely. So I made notes in that also. So I just kept on revising what is the school and which scholar, so this historical scholar 7. So in that, I was able to consign the material, because if you sit with a big textbook, it is difficult for you to consign the materials and make the material in a big format. So in jurisprudence, I relied on Rahul's notes. Maybe you can get it in the marketing or maybe it must be available online. So and then I just made notes on that, and then I definitely mugged up a lot of scholars, and after that, if you feel that you need to go to or you need more materials or you need to understand a little more, then take up Byron Jeffries. Then it will be easy to learn and read. It will be more easier for you to read on that, because directly taking Byron Jeffries and reading it is just little boring as well as it is not attractive also. So you take any small guide on jurisprudence, read that, make it clear, like mug up whatever you can, like the scholar's name, historical, different session, 9 points of the session, all these things. They're written in the answer question. And definitely go through the practicing areas for simple one. You can get similar kind of questions in the next round. So that is on jurisprudence. And constitution, I just read the Bare Act and Warning Provisions. And then, so if you check the pattern of UGC NET, so it's like, suppose if they have asked a question on a case law this year, you can get a similar question on the case law next year. That is the pattern that I'm observing. So what you can do is go through the Bare Act, learn what is the section, what is the article, what is the article, different very important articles, like what is 226, petition, all these things you have to definitely need to understand what are the different types of provisions, all these things you should understand, and then try to jot down the cases that have been asked in this question papers, and with year also you should write down, because maybe next year they can come up with the similar question, like asking, okay, which year it was decided. So whenever you solve our previous question papers, if you find out their case law, try to write it down with the year, so that next year if you get some match the following question, it will be easy for you to remember, because that entire case, all the case laws that has been asked for the past previous 10 years, it's with you, because I have done that and it was very easy for me. Probably I'll share it with you that case law study list that I prepared. So that is the strategy that I used for constitution. Bare Act, because going through the previous question, jot down the case laws and on the area which the decision came. And public international law, again, one of my friends, it is not my subject, so it is not my area of interest also. So one of my friends actually helped me to prepare this paper. And after that, I read one book on Rekha Sudan. It is an article Rekha Sudan. His book on international law, and you can first know that human rights, you can actually get a question. So international human rights. So his book is really helpful if you have a friend who are not international law. And in this case also, you can get repetitive questions. So what you do is, when you solve out previous question papers, write down the case laws along with the year and jot down the area where on which it is decided. For example, Essex law case, see the year and countries that have been part of that, and as well as the area that was mentioned, because in that way your entire process of study will be on public international law for UGC NET. So yeah, this is my strategy that I use for public international law. And Yes, law of crimes. Law of crimes is a very easy topic because they usually ask the application questions from IPC. So what I did was, these were the important top section that I read through. I mean, it doesn't mean that this is very comprehensive. You also need to read on theft, all these things you have to read. What is murder, section culpable homicide, what is the difference between these two different case laws? All these things you should be very clear of. So, and another important aspect is you should read the illustration for it. So usually they ask questions on theft. So there are different, different tricky questions that can be asked on theft that you should be very clear of. So I went through that. I just gone through the illustrations, and so that was enough for me. And law of crimes is actually easy for me, so I didn't put that much effort. But you should understand laws and see which if law of crimes is really hard for you, go through the questions and previous year question papers and see the pattern, and or try to work out questions from any other examination. Okay. So next is commercial law. So in commercial law, you'll get a lot of questions from different laws. That is general question of contract, sale and deals, partnership, and they have recently added company law also, and special contracts that comes under the contract. So in that also you can expect illustrative question. So you should be very clear of illustration under agency. Whatever try to read the illustration mentioned over there. And that's what. In the case of partnership, what you need to remember is when you work on question paper, again write down the case laws and the year and the topic. Because next year you can actually get a question on match the following same topic. So if you can at least remember one case law which comes and its subject, you can easily mark out or eliminate the rest of the options. So that is the partnership. Usually they ask such a question, and sometimes they ask which chapter is what under the partnership. So yeah, sale of goods may be they have the same very basic questions and case laws. And company law, you just need to only read the data which is mentioned in the sentence, and do previous same question papers. That is the. And yeah, I just worked out a lot of questions from this paper, and it was actually my favorite. So I was good. I enjoyed working on questions. Negotiable instruments also you will just get basic questions and complete case laws. It varies gradually. So yes, and family law. Family law was very tricky for me and it was very confusing. So what I did was I relied on a book called APTITUDE. So in that they had notes on family law, like Muslim law. So what are the different types of talaqs? It's a little. It was difficult for me to remember these, but you can get direct questions on that. What are the different types of talaq and case laws also. So in that I just relied on the APTITUDE's book. But study material that is given in the book. I just went through the question that was given there, and I worked out the questions this year. So for family law, we can rely on the material that is given. So it is basically for law paper. So yes, and you can actually get recurring questions of family law on the basis of cases. So yes, and then ITX. So when I gave, so this app is not that important. You should get 2-3 questions in the maths. But in 2021, when I gave the examination, we had about 6 to 7 questions on IT law, and that too very direct questions of what section is what, which was a little difficult for me to actually crack it. It is difficult when you study a law, then all the subjects you are studying. So that you have to put in IT like which section is what. It is difficult to remember. So in one trick that I can tell you is, suppose they ask you for match the following, and they have given you sections, and if it is definition, but even worse, always in their definitions are given in alphabetical order. So you can actually identify which definition comes before which definition. So that is one trick which I used to crack the IT law questions at that time. So Yes, IT law, I didn't do anything, but I just went. Went through the BARAC, saw the sections, and then just went through the previous question paper, and that's it. I knew it. So, and the other one is comparative public law and IPR. Comparative public law was a very recently added along with the so in that, so when I joined, I didn't get very difficult questions from so what I did much of it. I just read the on the website. So you can actually rely later when I spoke to one of the friends who cleared the NET examination. So she told me that she prepared the public law with the help of an LLM and its textbook that was in so in Ubadhyaya's textbook, you can get a little information about public law. Or else we can, if you have done LLM, then you must have had one topic like this. So you just need to revise it. Just understand what are the basics, that's it, and then the constitution. They'll ask you, in 2021, they asked you a question. So IPR, what you can expect is Patent Act year, Trademark Act year, Copyright Act year, and then just go through the BARAC, understand which chapter falls under the sections and the title of the chapter. That is very important because they can ask you questions for it. So this is my strategy that I used to clear the examination, and I cleared my second attempt because first attempt I lost for 2 time. I was not equipped to give somebody advice how to prepare UGC NET, but now after preparing for the second time, religiously I'm able to give some guidance to people who come up to me to ask me how to prepare, which needs to do. So this is my brief strategy that I used to prepare for UGC NET. So I think I can take up questions if you have any questions on this. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, ma'am. So we had received few questions and I will put those one by one. So the first question what we have received is that what are the benefits of cracking UGC NET?
Okay, so UGC NET, as per the current norms that government has put forth, if you want to become an assistant professor in any of the universities, this is the basic criteria that you have. UGC NET is the basic criteria you have a PhD. And even if you're taking a PhD from India, UGC is a criteria, but if you have taken PhD or doing a PhD from abroad, and in from the university which falls in the QS rank till 100, if the university falls in that category, then you will need to be able to say that. That's what should I say, differentiation. I hope that's clear.
Yes, ma'am. And then the next question is how to develop legal wisdom regarding the exams of UGC NET.
Legal wisdoms, I understand. So you're talking about is it? Let me share my screen. Is talking about jurisprudence aspect or some other topic?
I think, ma'am, they're talking about either the vocabulary.
Vocabulary. Okay, comprehension. Comprehension, man, you can. Oh, I didn't. Okay. So there is one topic of comprehension. So you just need to work out. So when I said about preparing for CAT maths and data interpretation, when you go to questions from CAT examination, you can just work out the questions on the page there. That is more than sufficient. Like I personally prepare. It is very direct questions, very easy in that aspect. So you can get try to solve out like 10 to 20 questions on the absolutely. And if you have a problem in English, then I think you should read any newspaper on a daily basis so that your language will improve and so that you will be able to read more quickly and understand the words.
Okay, ma'am. So the next question is, should we start preparing it from our postgraduate days, and in minimum, like how many months or years we should start preparing for UGC?
See, for UGC, I would say if you can crack it by, so you can appear for UGC when you are in your masters. So if you can crack it, then a big headache is gone. Then you can look forward to other exams or your PhD or whatever you want. Otherwise, it will be in the back of the mind. That will be there. So I would suggest, I think 2 months of preparation is more than enough. It's just of doing questions and revising whatever in paper one. That is more like revision is very important in paper one, as well as doing the question papers. Specialization subject is law. Then if you're doing LLM, then I think you should be able to understand law better. Like once you're out of the college, probably you will be getting a job, then you will lose the track of studying the there. So I would suggest you try to crack it while you're in your future.
Okay, so the next question is, which topics can be covered by just reading the Bare Act? Can you please repeat?
So Bare Act mein you can constitutional law is something you should clearly read the Bare Act, and then in Indian Penal Code, then commercial laws, whatever comes in the commercial laws that are shown, like for example, contract law, civil act, partnership mein, most of the time what it does is they ask what is the chapter on the particular, or they'll ask question, case law and topic. So you should be able to figure out like which chapter is what and the partnership. So yeah, these are the topics. Yeah. And IPR also, you can get direct questions on year and the legislation, for example, payment. So you should know the year and those copyright damage. All those things you should just go through the chapters also. Sometimes they can ask like that.
Okay, so ma'am, the next question is, do UGC repeat questions? I think the participant is trying to ask that whether referring last year question papers are beneficial or not.
Yes, they do. They at least ask. In constitution law, what I've observed, they do refer to these questions, and sometimes they you'll get a similar type of questions from the same topic. Their wordings might change, but you can definitely get questions. Yes.
And then the next question is, can we get into college as a teacher without cracking UGC only with LLM degree?
So what I've observed in private universities, they take in LLM graduates, but they'll keep a timeline, like if you need to clear a UGC NET 1 or 2 years. That I've observed, I've seen.
Okay, ma'am. Any other question, participants? If you have, you can just raise your hand. I'll unmute you, or you can type in the chat box. Ma'am, one participant is asking to repeat the journals which you were talking at the first, like Scopus journals.
Scopus journals, ABDC journals, and UGC care list. So I would suggest to go for Scopus journals because a lot of law journals are there in Scopus journalist, and ABDC is basically management journals, but you can find 2, 3. Not 2, 3, like few law journals are also there, but most of them comes under C category or D category. Your A category journals are mostly management. So try to publish in Scopus journals, and UGC careless most of the journals which comes with Scopus journals which is listed on Scopus site. In default, it falls under UGC careless too. So you don't just publish in UGC careless too. That is already there. If you are published in Scopus any journal, then that is more exception.
Any other questions? And yes, and for jurisprudence is just reading books, which you mentioned. Will that be enough?
Yeah, in my case, that was enough because for me, jurisprudence is not my cup of tea. So what I did, the easiest way which I can do, and previous is question paper. You should work out questions, and I just that's what I did, and I was able to crack questions back. Because jurisprudence, there is a lot to remember, and if you keep on reading a lot, there is a things that you might forget. So I prefer that. So, yes.
Okay.
So I have written a blog on that. I would share that in the chat box of preparing how to preparing. So you can go through this blog. I wrote it immediately after clearing the net.
And ma'am, one last question.
This we can share. Yes, yes.
So like, what is the mantra to crack NET GRF in first attempt?
I think you should work out questions and revise whatever it is done. I mean, whatever you have studied.
Okay, ma'am. So I think these were the questions. Okay, I know that we just have one more question. Can we skip any topics for preparation, or we should focus on all subjects equally?
Is it for paper 1 or paper 2?
Sorry, ma'am.
Is it for paper 1 or paper 2?
For both papers.
So paper 1 may see if you skip, for example, research, you don't like research aptitude, you skip the question. So what are the other questions, which is your area of interest, like teaching aptitude or communication? You're not able to crack, they ask tough questions. So I would suggest not to take a chance. And paper 2 may, when I prepared, I left comparative law. That this it was there for me. Get materials also. And they've actually had a number of lessons that selected. So is there any more questions?
No, ma'am. All the questions are done. So further, I would like to move to the vote of thanks. I, Jindal, on behalf of Team Law Internships, would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Ms. Nimmy ma'am for taking out time from a busy schedule and interacting with all the learners today. Thank you so much, ma'am. We are honored by your presence. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm very happy that I was able to talk on this because I really want to guide few youngsters and faculty. So I hope my session was useful to you all, and all the best. I hope you all will hear UGC NET in the next event. So thank you. Take care. Bye. Good evening. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Take care. Bye-bye.